All right. Good morning, my fellow degens. Let's look into a few of these tokens that showed up yesterday. Or sorry, that was today. We have Sin Futures and Signature Chain. We're just going over the volume strategy here, which I just want to make a quick point about this, that if you are looking at playing, high caps right now, you're bound to Bitcoin's price action. So, I mean, look at this. You would think that I just have Bitcoin side by side, right? But that's actually Bitcoin on the left, XLM on the right. So, it really mirrors the price action. If you want something that can move a lot more uh, volatile, yeah, volatile. If you want to find something that has more volatility to it, that isn't really bound by what Bitcoin's doing, although, if Bitcoin goes down a lot or goes up a lot, sometimes it can affect it, and you want to look to these alerts that we have set up. But just remember that they're very risky. And I'm going to show you some ways to lower your risk today. And there was some requests on how to do certain things, so I'm going to mention those as well. Two of those things are fib pools, and the other one is how to set your entry position in a way that it would be your stop loss. So without getting too much into it yet, basically you're just saying, okay, here's my stop loss. So instead of doing my entry here, I'm just going to move my entry to my stop loss because it seems like my stop loss gets hit a lot. And then sometimes that happens. It's just another method you can use that can save you some money and get you a much better entry. All right. So let's jump over here and look at, I want to bring these side by side first. So we're going to look at both of these. So one is called F. I don't know the exact name. But what I would recommend always is to first zoom out. I think this is a mistake people make a lot. You see this volume going crazy on it or something, and you're like, oh man, I got to jump in. You don't have to. I mean, just take your time with it. There's going to be more opportunities. It's going to bounce around a lot. Even if it just keeps running, then you can wait for a bounce area. But what you're looking for is a place where support and resistance meet. So it's somewhere in here where these wicks are. You could even move it up a little bit on this one, but we'll just keep it at these wicks for right now. So basically we're saying, okay, this is support and this support was lost. If price was to come back up here, this is probably the place that it would be rejected. And currently, if you go down, I would just start working your way down from here. Like go down to the 3-hour chart and say, okay, this went up, down, up. So currently this is the high, pretty much where this wick met. I would just call that wick plus that. You don't have to have the very top of the wick. So this could be support right here as it comes back down, and it's almost there now. Now, if we wanted to pull a fib on this, to take it a step further, which by the way, this is your support. Somewhere here, maybe there, was that wick right there. Yeah, so that looks good. So just mark your support and resistance area. I need to talk more about this with you, about range trading like this, but I'll try to remember to get into it. So what you would do is you take your fib from the bottom, you're grabbing the fib tool right here, which it's this first one, fib retracement. And from the very bottom to the top of that wick, pull. And at minimum, you're usually going to see at least a 50% retrace from the top before it's ready to go again. But a lot of times it also comes down to here, like the golden pocket between the 6.5 and 6.18. And sometimes it even comes down here to the 7.86 or the 8.8. So you just have to wait for your signal to show up. And if we were going to do that, and you could go ahead and mark some lines here. So we'd mark this 50% line. And this is just to test it out and see what happens in the future. I don't think it would fall into the 7.86, so we're not going to mark that one. Okay, so these are the 3 buy areas you're looking for, which it's more of a zone. It's not just a single line. So, if you were looking at a zone, you would say, okay, it's something like that. It's not perfect. So if we go all the way down to like, we just keep working our way down to like an hourly chart, and we start putting on our, what do you call it, the RD. I've talked about this many times before, but if you don't know what settings to put on it, search the RD first of all, or the Phoenix, and then set up your 2155 or 21 and 51, whichever you want to use, and it's the exponential moving average, and turn everything else off. And so right now they're way down here, right? But if we go down to like a 15-minute chart, we're going to start seeing, yeah, they're right there. You had a chance to buy right there on the 15-minute chart. But if we look at the 5-minute, which understand that the 5-minute bounces around a lot, and right now you are getting a touch. So this could be an okay place to take a position. But if you started getting candle closes below that, this is your support currently. Here's our horizontal support that we marked because it was once resistance. But this right here is your moving average support. So it's going to have a little bounce off of here. And this could be the bottom. I don't know. Maybe it's just going to do a 50% retrace based on that fib. But it could still come down here as this moves up. It could come up a little bit and just slowly work its way down and then find the bottom at this 55 and then be ready to go. So I think you need to give it time. I mean, some of these just take off and you don't have a chance to buy them really. But then some of these at the very beginning are slow. We didn't get this 30% alert until this move had already happened. So you never would have gotten this unless you were watching this token already. And then on the flip side, if you were using Engineering Robo, it actually has your resistance areas, your support areas. The red areas are marking that it's heavy resistance right now, and the orange lines are marking that this is good support levels. And I think the reason it's doing that is because it's saying, okay, you at least need to wait for a 50% retrace usually. But you can add things like the cloud, the HODL line, which is basically like a moving average. What else? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more things here, but you're looking right now, you got a sell signal. So at minimum, since this sell signal printed, if you're using Engineering Robo, you got to wait for a buy signal at this point. I just want to see what these clouds are doing. But see this line that I made, it could hold here even though there was a sell signal. Just wait on these clouds to come up just to see what it looks like. Why is this taking so long? Usually it doesn't take this long. Okay, well, we can talk about some other stuff while we're waiting on that. I'm just going to turn off the resistance and support so we can see it better. Yeah, I mean, number one, definitely zoom out first. Mark those lines. Please remember that. My dad always told me that you make the money on the buy. That's how you make the profit, is by buying at the right price. You don't want to be buying up here chasing a green candle, right? So if we look over here at this one, F, that showed up yesterday, it's had some time to work itself out. If we were to mark lines on this one, at the time, somewhere up here was the top. This was, see how that right there, resistance turned into support and then it lost it. And then you've got another support area down here. There's really another one somewhere in here. Yeah. And then you can go down to like the 3 hour or 5 minute, whatever. But when this one first popped, was that yesterday? 20th of October. Yeah, that was yesterday. So this one made a 30% move and it hit some kind of resistance up here, which I would suspect is here maybe. Yeah, I would say it's kind of like here, even though it wicked above it. I think that's what I wanted to mark. Yeah, it's something like that. But if you put your fibs on it, what did it hit? The golden pocket right there. Some of these are going to move faster than others, but let's look at the 5 minute and see what happened to it. So see how it bounced around a bunch before it hit this? So let's just compare it here. Here's our 50 line. I'm going to mark that same line here just so you can see it. And it did act as support for a little bit, right? If we take our fibs away, well, let me just mark this one first. So this is a pretty good spot, to take a chance on it anyway, but you got to be careful because if it closes candles below this area, then you wouldn't want to be in it anymore. And on the flip side of that, really, you want to be waiting. Remember on the cross up, let's wait on the cross up first. But what you're doing is you're setting up your lines on the higher time frames because of those are the strongest support and resistance areas. And then, maybe use your fibs if you want to find these levels. But ultimately, all you're looking for is you want to see these lines start to cross up, right? That's what you need. And yeah, that is a good buy right there for a quick short scalp, but we don't know that that's the bottom. You know, this could still come up here, create a lower high, and still come down to here just like this one did. So this one bounced right off. Actually, it fell through this first line, but it bounced right off that 55. So if it's the first time that it's touching the line, typically you're at least going to get a small bounce, right? And so it barely got anything on this first 21 touch yesterday on this F token. But at the 55, it was very strong support at the time, and you got a nice bounce off of it. But it came right back down, created a double bottom, and bounced up a little bit more. But at that point, you know, it actually lost. And you can see these, if you put the dynamic option on here, in the dynamic, it'll turn orange and yellow when things are, you know, to tell you caution, basically. You know, it started turning orange and yellow here. Now, if it had turned green again, then sure, just keep holding it or keep your position. But if it starts to turn deep red, of course, if you get your cross down, you're already out anyway. But if it starts to turn deep red, then you don't want in, or you don't want to play it anymore. This could turn into a W here on this one, by the way. You'll start to see patterns like this. Where's my thing? So, you know, W pattern or something. That could happen. And the reason for that is because you're at some pretty strong support right now. But if this gets lost and it's coming down to here. Okay, so I usually wouldn't go under a 5-minute chart. Let's just, you know, definitely don't go below that because it gets really choppy at that point. But the only reason, or the only way to even go to a 5-minute chart is if you have already marked your levels on the higher time frame. So if we were to look at this token from yesterday and talk about what an entry would look like, you know, you're kind of guessing right now, by the way, because your lines haven't crossed up yet, right? But let's say that, and I'm going to make this chart larger. Let's say that I want to take a position early, which I really wouldn't recommend. I mean, number one, you've definitely got a trend line of resistance happening here. So really, I wouldn't even be interested in taking a play until, you know, these candles start to close above that line right there. What did I wanted to show you here? Yeah, so we're waiting on the cross up, but let's just say that you were going to take a position early, that you were, you know, you just couldn't wait for some reason, and you're going to take a position. Well, now we're going to talk about that thing that somebody asked me about, and I can't remember who it was, but they were asking me how I would take a position using my stop loss instead. So let's just say that my stop loss is, you know, maybe I'm thinking, okay, I want to take a position here, but I rethink it and I'm like, okay, I think instead what I'm going to do, whatever my stop loss was going to be, I'll set that as my position instead. So let's just say I'm ready to take a position, which again, I wouldn't recommend in this case. But let's say I was going to set my stop loss below this wick right here. You know, something like that. I'm going to take these lines away so you don't get confused. So stop loss. This is where I was going to set my stop loss, right? So I'm doing a limit order, and I'll just show you here real quick. Where's that token F? Okay, so I'm doing a limit order. So like limit, I've got it on 50x right now, but I wouldn't do that. You know, 10, if you're just starting out, I'd stick to 10x, but let's say I'm doing 20x cross. Remember, if you get liquidated under the cross option, that means that all of your tokens, all of your money gets taken from the account. It's the safer way to do it, but you got to be real careful and have stop losses in place. But let's say I was going to set my stop loss at this level, right, at 0.11372. Normally I would do this. I would click the TP SL, which TP means take profit, SL means stop loss. And I'd go 0.0, what did I say, 1172? No, that's not right. 1137. Okay, so normally if I was setting my stop loss, and this is just an example, I'm not saying to buy here, then I would set the stop loss at this level. But I'm doing this new trick. I'm trying out this new trick where somebody said, just go ahead and try to put your entry at the stop loss instead and see what happens. See if you get a better entry that way. And so instead, I'm going to take this. Right now the price is at 0.1178. My stop loss I was going to put at 0.1137. So I'm just going to change this to 0.1137. And, maybe I'll put my stop loss further down, 5% more down, or, usually you want to give yourself some room on the stop loss, but at least do 1 to 3% on your stop loss. Even 1% is pretty tight. So let's just say I'm going to set that. So if my entry is here and I go to 3% down, that's 0.1104. Okay, so there, whoops, didn't work. There we go. So now if I hit, like, let's just say I put in $50 or something. If I, this is where I want to do it, I'm going to hit long because I got my stop loss set. And there you go. There's my limit buy right there. So if price comes into that, where I was going to put my stop loss, if it comes into it, it's going to trigger my order. It's going to buy. And then, maybe it goes up. We'll see. But again, I would much rather see this start to curl up before I took any position, because you just never know, right? This thing could come all the way back down, sitting right on support, and then, go sideways forever. You don't want your money tied up like that, right? So if I want to cancel this, I'm just going to go to open orders. Here's that one that I just placed. I'm going to hit delete, and now it's going to get rid of it. Okay. Let's see. Let's just see what that other token's doing real quick. Oh, it's this one over here to the right. Okay, so let's move this one back and just open it up. Yeah, so this ended up being pretty good support, temporary support, but here we go. We may end up with a lower high here. I can't say for certain. But, keep using this as support. Be patient. And you would have bought here, of course. Now you probably ask, well, how do I know where to take profit? It's just a feel thing. You're looking at some wicks that came down right here. You could have set a resistance area coming back up and said, well, if price rejects here, then maybe I should just take some temporary profit, because you had wicks coming down. Things are bearish, right? So you can't, until price breaks above this, then things really aren't bullish again from a short-term perspective. So you had a rejection here, all these wicks right here, plus this candle body together. If you have 3 points of contact here, then this is a support resistance area. So you can mark these as it comes down. There's probably, I don't know, there's another one somewhere in here. Not perfect. But yeah, you could have taken some profits here. There is a chance that this thing just moves up immediately, but you don't want to see this keep coming down. You definitely don't want to see these lines start to roll over. That would tell you that there's weakness. But, as this comes back down, you could buy again at the line. Just remember, be patient. We want to buy when things are cheap. So this line is cheap currently, but and it is your support line, it's your, like, what's the word I'm thinking of? It's your variable support line. It's your moving support line, basically. It's taking the average of the last, 21 candles. Taking the average of the last 21 candles and giving you an average price that is a fair price. And then this one down here is giving you the fair price over the last 55 candles. So this is a very good buy down here. Now let's say this thing kind of chops around for a while, goes up, down, up, down. If you get, if you're just sitting there working at your computer, you get a touch right here on this line, and I'm not saying it will, it may not come down this low before it moves up again, but if it does, then that's a good buy for you. You can go ahead and take a long there and just watch what it does. It may not actually hold there, but remember to jump around. Let's go back to this one real quick for that F token. Remember to jump around to different time frames. So maybe go up to the hourly. Let's just see what the lines look like. There you go. There's a perfect bounce off the hourly on the 21. these lines are going to be in different positions on each time frame. So this would have been a good buy right here. It may go up from here. But remember, hourly charts take longer to, have a closed candle. If I was to think about what might be a resistance area going back up, I'd probably say something like this. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So if you were to take a long here, you would have to watch pretty closely at this level and say, is this thing going to reject here? Maybe I should take some profits. This is what scalping is all about. You're just doing quick trades, trying to find levels that have good support. And when it touches it the first time, sometimes there's a bounce. Actually, there was one bounce already. It already went up there pretty good once. I wonder if that's going to turn into a W. Is that what we saw on here? Well, not really, kind of. 3 hour, yeah, I mean, it could come down all the way to the 3 hour 21 still. Touch it. What did 45 do? Yeah, you lost your 45.21, so your next area on the 45-minute chart would be right here as this thing, continues to move forward. 30-minute. Yeah, see how 30-minute bounced right off the 55? So this is what I mean by jumping around. You start at your highest time frame, you mark some lines, and then you start moving down. And then as price action matures, then you kind of just move around to different time frames and see what information it's giving you. So for example, here on the 15-minute chart, you may end up getting a cross down, which would likely result in lower prices, maybe down to here even. So, even if it was ready, even if this was the bottom, you're probably going to get some rejection as it comes back up here and hits these lines. Just jump around, get used to seeing, looking and seeing how it reacts on certain time frames. Don't get in a hurry. This is a journey. I mean, you're learning every single day. You're putting in the work, and eventually it becomes second nature to you. So you're like, it doesn't matter what you do in life. The more you do it, the more proficient you get at it. And trading markets is one of the hardest things to do because it's so volatile at times, and you don't know what price action is going to do. But you can use information like this, even though indicators are lagging indicators. None of them are going to give you future information, but still, it can help you make a better decision for sure. You just have to combine all these things together. Let me check. There was one other request here. Where was that at? Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah, Fibonacci. I did talk about that. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that on small time frames, that's how you would handle the Fibonacci. I mean, this could be a support area. Yeah, you know what? This actually, just looking at this, what do you call it? This pattern. Sometimes it puts in this thing and then it comes down one more time. So I could see this maybe bouncing up to here at least, maybe even to this line. But we need more information, don't we? What does the 5-minute look like? Yeah, I mean, it's just not time to take a position yet on the 5-minute. So even though this could be support, don't put yourself in a situation where, and I'm going to show you a really good example. So don't put yourself in a situation here, like with, here it is. Like with PTB yesterday, I had posted in the group, I said, this one, actually, this is what I was looking at the time, maybe over here. Or no, I was waiting on a big dip and it happened right there. And I think I was saying, if this thing curls up, it's ready to go, and it never curled up. In fact, Engineering Robo gave a sell signal. If you ever see a buy signal on Engineering Robo and then it turns gray candles like this, sometimes that means it's a reversal, that the buy signal is weak, and then it could roll over. So just be aware of that. But then this one, I mean, look at this. This one did a big fake down, and then all of a sudden it pumped. And I did get a little bit of this pump. I was asleep during some of it. So I was able to make some money off of it, but I wish I would have taken the short. I shouldn't have been blind and biased to think that, this is absolutely going up. I should just stick to the rules, right? There's no reason to even have considered a long until this, these two lines had crossed up and turned green, even on the 15-minute chart. That's really why you can get tricked very easily. See how these started to turn green here on the 5-minute chart? And that's probably what I was looking at the time, because I had a bias that I was saying, okay, if this thing sweeps this low, And this happens a lot. Not only that, but it created a double bottom. And I was like, okay, this is looking pretty good. And so when I saw this green, I was like, man, this looks like it could at least come up to here. That'd be a good profit. And I was thinking about the money instead of looking at what the chart was doing. So now you can see how when you're at low time frames, things can fake you out. So that's why I say jump around to different time frames. Yeah, even on the hourly right there, it was rejecting the 21 at the time. So, before you make your decision, jump around to different time frames. Okay, I'm going to keep this one fairly short. I think that's really all I wanted to talk to you about today. But, just keep practicing this stuff. If you're willing to watch these videos and learn how to do this stuff for yourself, you'll be successful, I guarantee you. There are a couple other things you can do, like using RSI. Like here we got a, for bullish divergences, you got a higher low, by the way. I'm just going to mention this here at the end. And price coming down while momentum's coming up. That's why this could be a bottom. But just wait, wait for the actual curl up so that you, you're not going to get the best entry, of course, but just wait for it, because that way you're not waiting. Price doesn't keep coming down and down and down. You don't know where to get in or where to get out. It can get you in a lot of trouble. All right. Y'all have a good day, and we will do another one soon.